You might be wondering why this is called Mindset and Money Mastery for Photographers. And today I want to share with you a little bit about my story and my journey and how this whole thing became centered around mindset and money. But primarily, we're going to focus on the mindset piece first. So you have a little bit of a better idea of where I'm coming from when I share with you mindset tips and things like that as we go along throughout the podcast. Now, to start out, I want to share with you my journey when it comes to mindset and what that looks like. And when I really decided and realized how big of a difference mindset could truly make in my business. Whenever the mindset thing came into play, I got into reading a few books. And that's what actually did it for me. I read a couple of books. One was called Get Your Shit Together, and the second one was called You Are a Badass. And both of those books made me start to think outside of the box of the photography and the business world that I had known up until that point. I started thinking about things in a different way. I started realizing that this thing called mindset was actually really important and that it actually was impacting me in my business. One day, I remember being in the truck, driving down the road on the way to the barn. And I remember thinking, am I causing myself to lose out on money? Are my own fears and worries surrounding money causing my clients not to want to spend money with me? And it dawned on me at that very moment that could be what was happening. I remember pulling up to the barn, grabbing my phone, and searching on Google money mindset. Really, the concept and the idea of money mindset had never even crossed my mind. I don't know where this thought even came from. I set up a meeting with one of the very first people that came up on Google. Her name was Christina Bold. That conversation that I had with Christina on that very first day made me realize that there were so many things surrounding money and my mindset that truly were crippling me in my business. And what happened over the next few months is that I ended up hiring Christina and working with her very closely over the next few months. And we would meet and we would talk about these different topics and talk about these different things and how my experiences that happened in my life were impacting my mindset, thus impacting my business, the decisions I was making in my business, and even furthermore, how I was putting off those weird feelings about money and my mindset issues. I was putting those things off on my clients without even realizing it. I had been leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table each and every month because I was scared of money, because I had limiting beliefs surrounding money. And in that very moment, everything changed. When I learned to dive into this whole world of mindset and I learned how to deal with my limiting beliefs, when I learned how to deal with these things that I didn't even realize were a thing until somebody pointed them out to me. Wow. I remember my first month full of clients after I did all this mindset work. I remember how much more money they spent. I remember how much more confident and happy I was dealing with those clients and dealing with the fact that those clients were going to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars with me. When I say it changed everything, guys, I cannot explain with my words enough. Like everything changed. And over the years, I started to take some of those mindset things a little bit for granted. And as I was helping other photographers build their business and watching and seeing what they were doing and realizing what was the difference between my coaching clients that went out there and did the thing and made it work, and my coaching clients that just sat there after they did the work, but they never implemented the thing. And I realized it all came back to mindset again. Here we were. Mindset was the missing piece. And I started to include mindset in a lot of my business coaching for photographers because I started to realize that just like I needed mindset, and that was my hidden piece, that was also their hidden piece to the puzzle. Now, what I started to realize is that honestly, people don't like to hear that their mindset is a problem. People like to think that, oh, it's this or it's that, or I need to learn how to market better. I need to learn how to price myself better. But in all reality, I can share with you and I can give you every business tool there is to go out and to run your business and to make tons of money. But until you have dealt with your mindset, until you know how to deal with those limiting beliefs, until you know how to analyze those things in a different manner and to recognize when fear begins to creep into your business, until you learn those things, all of the business tools, all of the strategy, everything I teach you is in vain. And that is why mindset is the foundation. Also, I'll be real honest with you. I was a workshopaholic. I was a courseaholic. I did all the big workshops. I did all the courses. I did all the conferences for years and years. They would teach me all the business things. They would teach me how to take beautiful portraits. But nobody ever took the time to say, hey, let's check your mindset. Let's make sure that all of these things we're sharing with you are actually going to be useful. Because they could give me all those tools I needed to go have giant sales or to run a business simply and efficiently. But all of that was taking a fast track to the end when in reality, they should have started at the beginning. This is the exact reason why mindset is truly the foundation of what I help photographers with. And the funny part is that this mindset thing, it comes with quite a few layers. And some of the mindset stuff comes with you need rational, practical tools to deal with your mindset, to deal with your limiting beliefs. Part of mindset feels a little bit to people, and they say to me, Corinda, but this is all woo woo. Corinda, does this really work? Corinda, is this real? I don't know if I believe in this. But part of mindset is also realizing and understanding that mindset is based in science. There have been studies done, there has been research on mindset. And this stuff that a lot of times we consider a bunch of woo woo is really practical things that are proven to work. Practical ways to rewire your brain to give you something else to think about instead of going to the worst case scenario and the fear and the worry and the frustration. That's what mindset's really about. And honestly, I did think it was a little bit until my husband went back to school. My husband went back to school to get his master's in engineering management. And whenever he did, they had what they called a residency week. And inside their residency week, they actually spent an entire week focusing on what they called emotional intelligence, which in all reality is mindset, just a scientific way to say mindset. And my husband, I'll never forget this. He went through the first day and he called me that night and he's, Corinda, you're never going to guess what we're doing. All of this mindset stuff that you've been working on and doing, this is actually what we're learning. And he's like, Corinda, there's real science behind this. I just thought it was a bunch of woo. But this stuff is real. It's legitimate. It works. I am sitting here in a college class learning about this stuff. He's like, you have to know this. You have to know the meat of this and the nitty gritty and why all of this works. And once I started to realize and understand alongside of him, that this stuff is also science based and there is evidence. There is research about this. It changed a lot of things for me in my viewpoint of mindset work and the importance of it. And the fact that what I'm doing is not in vain, that what I'm doing is actually real, legitimate things that is permanently rewiring the way I'm able to think. Now, when we tie this back to our business, right? How many of you sitting here listening to this today can say, you know what? There's things I need to do in my business right now in this very moment, but I am terrified. How many of you are sitting there saying, I know I should probably raise my prices, but I'm scared. What if nobody wants to spend that money? How many of you are sitting here and saying, I really want to go full time, but what if I fail? How many of you are sitting here thinking, I really want to do the thing, I really want to make the big change in my business, but what if I let people down? What if I disappoint the people that have been my loyal clients from the beginning? There are so many areas that I talk to photographers and they give me all of these places in their business that they feel like something's holding them back. And they don't quite realize, they understand where it's coming from, but they never realize this is a mindset thing. This is something that there is a practical, real way to fix. And what I want to do with you is I want to share with you some of the most common areas that I see photographers facing mindset problems and limiting beliefs that are holding them back in their business. And when I say the word limiting beliefs, let me back up here for a second. When I say the word limiting beliefs, a limiting belief is something that is just holding you back. It is a belief that you have in your brain that is limiting you from your full potential. When I talk to photographers, all too often, they say to me, Corinda, but nobody wants to spend that kind of money on portraits. I'll sit here and say, my clients invest thousands of dollars in their portraits. Sometimes I have clients that invest tens and $20,000 or even more on their portraits. And I have photographers that I talk to on the daily that say to me, Corinda, nobody's going to spend $1,000 on portraits. And I'm here to tell you that they will. And that if I can do this, so can you. And if you are worried that your clients are not ready to spend that money, just look around. There's photographers everywhere doing this on the daily, making money doing this. Maybe you're just not worried that your clients don't want to spend the money, but maybe you're worried what people will think of you if you ask for the money. Maybe you're worried that the type of people that have money and are ready to invest in their portraits are not your people. Maybe you've been told that people that are willing to spend thousands of dollars on things that seem extra are not nice people. Maybe you have preconceived notions about people who have money. There are so many things when it comes to money and mindset that really do stop us in our tracks in our business. The second area where I see people struggling is this imposter syndrome thing. They're like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. There's no way I can charge that much. I haven't been in business for 10 years like you have. I can never do that. People are going out there each and every day in their business and they're feeling like, I am not worthy. I am not good enough. I can't go ask for those things. I can't go have that business because I'm not there yet. Imposter syndrome is a real serious thing. And if you're sitting here feeling this imposter syndrome, I understand. I get it. Sometimes you just got to fake it till you make it, but you also need to realize and you need to stop and look and examine where your imposter syndrome is coming from. The next area that I hear photographers saying is, you know what? I'm afraid of failing. Now, typically, I'll be honest, people don't really come out and say, I'm afraid of failing. It's not really how it presents itself. How it normally presents itself is more so in, you know what? I want to invest in myself. I want to invest in my business. But what if I make this investment and it doesn't work out? Fear of failure comes up that place in a lot of ways. Fear of failure comes up when people say, you know what? It's just a hobby. I'll just keep it as a hobby. What you're really saying is, I'm afraid to make it a real legitimate business because I'm afraid it's going to fail. Maybe you're afraid to make it a real thing and to put it out there into the world and say, here is what I'm doing, here is my business. It is happening because you're afraid that other people are going to see you fail. What are other people going to think if they see you go out there and start something and you don't make it? What if you sink? But what I want to ask you today is, who cares if you fail? You are the only person in the world that cares if you fail. If there is anybody in your life that is out there waiting for you to fail, then they don't need to be in your life. You need to kick them to the curb because they are not a good part of your life that contributes in a valuable way. You are the only person there that knows if you fail. And nobody else is going to be there ready to say, I told you. No. And like I said, if they are, kick them out of your life, guys. They're not worth it. The people around you want to see you succeed. They want to cheer you on. And if you go into something feeling like you're gonna fail and you tell yourself each and every day when you wake up, I feel like I'm gonna fail at this. I can't do it. I don't know if I can do it. You will never go do the thing. Fear of failure is real. It's scary. But what if instead of focusing on the fear of failure, you focus on being successful and making a plan and realizing you have nothing else to lose? Now, the other area that is in my top 4 places I see photographers dealing with mindset issues is when it comes to fear of disappointing others. They're afraid they're going to let somebody down. They're afraid they're going to disappoint their family by chasing their dreams. They're afraid they're going to let their past clients down when they make a big change or a shift or charge more money. They're afraid people are going to be disappointed because not everybody can afford to invest thousands of dollars in their portrait. They're afraid of what other people are going to think and letting those other people down. Now, maybe you're sitting here listening to this going, oh man, Corinda, you just unpacked a lot. I feel a lot of these things. This kind of hurts a little bit. What I want to remind you in this very moment that I've just ripped off all these band-aids and showed you all these places that maybe it stings a little bit is that what you choose to focus on becomes your reality. What you choose to focus on becomes your truth. If you choose to wake up every day and to focus on the same bad, negative patterns and the same negative mindset or fear or worry or frustration, then you will stay in that pattern. And this is why learning the tools to master your mindset are so incredibly important, guys. This whole area of mindset and knowing how to deal with these fears and frustrations and worries changes everything. It teaches you to stop focusing on the negative and to start focusing on the positive. It teaches you to look at those fears, to look at those worries, to look at those frustrations, and to recognize where they came from. And it teaches you how to change those thought patterns. So let me share a little bit more of how this process works on a higher level. And don't worry, we're going to dig into a lot of these topics later on in the podcast because I know that these are big things that all of you need help working through. But let's look at this from a higher level and how you can start to make subtle shifts in your mindset right now, today, first thing I want you to do is I want you to get a notebook. This notebook will be something you keep around you all the time. This notebook is there so that when you recognize that you are having moments of fear, of worry, of frustration, when you sense that there's something you need to do, but it's hard to do it, that you start to recognize there is something holding me back. There is something getting in my way. What is happening? And when you feel those moments of tension and resistance, instead of just saying, I'm just not going to do the big scary thing, you need to look at why you're not doing the big scary thing. Write it down. Write down what you're worried about. Write down what those fears are. Write down what those frustrations are. Maybe one day you're working on your pricing in your business and you say, Corinda says I need to sell this for $3,500 and that's terrifying. Why is that terrifying? Get out your notebook and write it down. Get it out of your brain and look at the reason why these fears and why these worries and frustrations are popping up. And what I want you to do is I want you to start building what we call in the mindset world your list of mantras. Your mantras are your new positive stories. Your mantras are your reframes of the scary negative thoughts that you've been holding on to for years, probably most of your life. Because in all reality, most of these mindset things and limiting beliefs are planted in us when we are really young. When we are very young, they're things that have been said to us in passing. They're things that people have said as harmless statements that have grown into giant trees and bushes in our brains. And now we can't seem to find our way out of the forest because we get so stuck in that fear because we've allowed that seed to grow. So we have to start killing that tree that's had all that time to grow in our brains. And we have to rewire our brains, which is where we come back to the science of this. So as you go through and you find these things that freak you out and scare you, I want you to write them down. And then I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to be honest, is this a truth? Or is it a lie I'm telling myself? And I'm going to tell you that most of the worries and fears and frustrations you have in your business are not actual truths. They're lies. They're stories that we have made up over years. They are bushes that have been allowed to grow unchecked. And now they have taken over our lives. And now they're getting in our way. And now they're blocking our view of the real world. And when you ask yourself, is this a truth or is this a story? I want you to rewrite that into something new. So let's say you're sitting here and you're saying, people are never going to spend thousands of dollars on art. Corinda, that's crazy. My clients are never going to spend thousands of dollars with me on art. Ask yourself, is that true? How do you know that's the truth if you've never tried it in the right way? You don't. And I'm sitting here telling you it is my truth and my reality. And I'm sitting here saying there's hundreds and thousands of other photographers out there doing this. So what you're telling yourself is a story. Now, you have two options. You can continue to live in that story and to make that your reality. You can continue to never have a client that's ready to invest thousands of dollars in your portraits, or you can decide to change that. And your first step to changing this comes back to mindset. You have to rewrite that story. So your new story or your new mantra for yourself is going to say something like this. My clients are ready and excited to spend thousands of dollars on their portraits. That's your new story. Now, in the beginning, that story is going to feel like a bit of a far stretch for you. And you're going to be like, Oh, I say it, I think it, I hear it, and I'm just like, "Ooh, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it can actually be." And that's okay because over time, it's going to become easier. The reason that it's hard right now is because you have years of things that you've been told in your life. You have years of baggage that has led you to believe that people are not going to spend thousands of dollars on their portraits. And you have to take that and you have to rewire that statement in your brain. So, how do you start to rewire these things and these statements? Key is consistency. They say it actually takes 42 days of repeating something multiple times a day to start to rewire your brain. So, you need to start to do the work each and every day. You need to put that new mantra and that new statement on a sticky note on your refrigerator, on your bathroom mirror. You need to put it in your car. You need to wake up and say it first thing in the morning. Every time you look in the mirror, you need to say it. You need to think it. You need to say it. And you need to repeat that statement so many times on the daily that it becomes hardwired into your brain and you begin to believe that statement. And this is the part of mindset that feels like this is crazy. This cannot be true. I'm here to tell you I am a perfect living, walking example of how this is true because I have been on this journey. I've been through it and I felt the same feelings you're feeling today when I tell you these things. If you can commit to doing the work on the daily to change your story, to rewire your brain, to accept this new truth that you have written for yourself and this new reality that you want to create, it will change everything. What will happen as you go through this process is a week or two down the road, you'll notice that when you start to have that thought creep up in your mind, that you notice it a lot more, that you acknowledge it and you go, no, that's not true. My clients are ready and willing and excited to invest thousands of dollars on their portraits. And you'll notice that 4 or 5 weeks down the road, that thought will start to pop into your brain. And before it can even finalize itself, there's a new part of your brain that says, nope, get out of here. And essentially, over time, the thought and the old story gets rewritten with the new one. And eventually, when you think about it, you won't even feel that tightening in your chest. You won't even have the inkling to begin to believe that your client won't spend thousands of dollars because your new story will be that your clients are ready and willing and excited to invest thousands of dollars on their portraits. And that becomes your new story and your new life. And then when you start to get into all of these business tools and you start to learn how to get clients to invest thousands of dollars on their portraits, you have the power and the ability to do the things you need to do in order to create that new reality. Now, if you were still believing in the back of your head and if you still had that little birdie sitting on your shoulder saying, no one's going to spend thousands of dollars, then guess what? When you get to the business things and you get to the practical side of things in your business and you go to all the courses and the workshops, you're like, why aren't these things working? Why are all these people saying this works for them, but it doesn't work for me? It's because you are getting in your own way. You are holding yourself back. It is up to you to decide that you are going to stop getting in your own way. And your mindset and your brain are the number one thing getting in your way. There are so many things and so many layers of this. But today, I wanted to make sure that you get on a high level what to start to do to make the subtle shifts when you realize I might be causing this to happen. I might be getting in my own way. Over the last few days, as I got ready to record this episode, it was truly like everything in my life was pointing out to me that this is so important. And I'm not going to lie, the amount of signs and the amount of things that fell into place over the last few days, it was just like every part of the world around me was saying, Corinda, this is so important. This is so important. This is something that is not only happening in the woo type world, as I like to call it. This whole use of mindset, this whole use of reframing your thoughts to rewire your brain is becoming more and more mainstream. It's being taught in universities. It's being used to rehabilitate people who've gone through traumatic things in their life. It's being used all over the place. And when you start to open your eyes and recognize and realize that this is a real thing, you will see it start appearing everywhere. And you will start to talk to people and go, man, they kind of have a bad mindset. They need some of this. You'll become that person like I, where you start buying mindset books and giving them to people as gifts. And you're like, I really think you should read this. It would be good for you. Because that's what has happened to me. Since I've gone down this journey, I feel so passionately that each and every person needs this in their life. That each and every person, if they just have this one little tool that I discussed today, the one little tool to stop, to recognize that something is holding them back, to say, what is it? What am I afraid of? What is stopping me from doing the thing? And then they start to reframe those negative thought patterns, that it can change so much. It can change everything. So, my challenge for you after listening to this episode is really to do what I call a brain dump. Okay. I want you to do a brain dump. I want you to sit down and I want you to think about something that you've really been held back in your life, in your business, whatever it may be. I want you to set a timer for 5 minutes and I want you to write down all of your fears, all of your worries, all of your frustrations, and get all of them out on a piece of paper. And once you write them all down, I want you to go back through them and ask yourself that question. Is this a truth? Or is this a story I'm telling myself? Is this a lie I'm telling myself? And really be a little proactive about this when you're thinking about it. Don't just say, oh man, people don't want to spend money. Yes, I know people don't want to spend money. My clients told me they don't want to spend money. No, don't do that to yourself. That's not the goal of this exercise. The goal of this exercise is to take a step back from your life, to take a step back from where you are mentally, to take a step back from wherever your reality might be, and to look around you and to say, is this the truth? And I'm just going to straight up tell you that the things you're going to write down that are holding you back are not truths. They're stories you're making up. They're things that have happened to us in our lives that have led us to believe that this is the truth. And I want you to rewrite each and every one of these statements into a new positive statement. I want you to start this process and I want you to commit to going on this journey with me over the next 42 days at least. I'm going to say commit to going on this journey with me for the rest of your life, because as cheesy as that may sound, this is something that you should use on the daily forever. And it's been a years of a journey for me. I don't even know how many years anymore. It's been years since I started this journey. And I'm still on this journey. And if I sat here and said to you that I am perfectly fine and I have the perfect mindset and I don't struggle with these things to this day, that would be a lie. I do still find these things creeping up, but I find them creeping up the most when I become lazy about this. I find that I stop myself in my tracks the most when I get lazy about doing my mindset work. I find myself being stuck, feeling defeated, feeling overwhelmed when I don't take this time to stop and recognize what I'm doing to myself in that moment. So that's my challenge for you, to start to realize when these things are getting in your way over the next week. We are going to share so much more on this podcast about the science behind all of these things and dive into more specific things like money mindset, imposter syndrome, fear of failure, fear of disappointing others, and how those things play into your business. Because there's a lot of them. There's a lot to unpack. I have coaching clients that tell me they have gone back in our course and they've watched those mindset videos time and time again, just because sometimes the first time they get through them, they don't quite get all the stuff out that they needed to, and they need to go back and re-listen or rewatch them and really take them in again. This is when my coaching clients laugh and they make fun of me a bit for it. They say that sometimes Corinda makes them cry, their business coach makes them cry, but it's all in good. It's all good when I make them cry. This starts with this mindset stuff. It's okay. I get it. Sometimes this stuff isn't hard. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it brings up feelings. And if you start going through this whole mindset journey on your own and you are just feeling like, well, this is a lot to swallow, there's a lot of things coming up, there's a lot of things happening, then that is definitely one of those times when I'm going to say, don't be afraid to seek out help from a professional. Don't be afraid to seek out help from a therapist or somebody like that who's really qualified to walk you through this experience and this process. There's mindset coaches, there's coaches that help people with different specific topics, from money mindset to all everything you can think of. There's somebody that specializes in helping people that are struggling with that specific thing. But there are also therapists out there that can help you, and counselors that can help talk you through these things if it brings up weird feelings. I just want to make sure that you realize, as you start to go on this journey in your business, and you make certain that your mindset doesn't get in your way, that your mindset doesn't stop you, that you are not like me and you don't wake up one day and you don't go, I'm terrified of spending my own money. When people spend money with me, it freaks me out. And every time I say my prices, I want to crawl in a hole because I'm waiting for a bad reaction. I'm waiting on the moment to strike when I'm disappointing my client. I'm waiting on my failure to come because I don't want to fail. I feel like an imposter doing all these things. There was a lot there to unpack that was happening when it came to money in my business. And this was really the breaking point for me. And I will be happy to share more of my journey and more of my story with all of you, but it is a long one. But that was the turning point for me. The turning point was really realizing that when I spoke about money or anything that had to do with money in my business, it freaked me out. It literally made me cringe. It made my chest tight. It made it hard to breathe. It made my voice crack. I didn't want to even say the prices. I'm going to be like, here's your total on a document or on a sheet. And let me type that up for you. Now, I can say things like, okay, your order is going to be $6,552. How would you like to pay? And it doesn't make me feel any weird ways, as it shouldn't. But talk about a big place that sabotages somebody's business. We have businesses because we love it, but we also have businesses because we want to make money. And if the thought of people spending money with you, if the thought of saying prices, if the thought of charging your worth freaks you out, you're in the right place. Because as much of this is about mindset, it's also about money and understanding money. And we talk a lot about that. Something that I'm extremely passionate about is money and managing money in your business and understanding money in your business. And with that, the mindset piece comes in because I was afraid to even manage my money or think about my money or deal with my money when I was afraid of it. But now I'm not. That is a huge shift for me. It has been a huge shift for me. It has changed so much. And I hope that you can go along on this journey with me as we work through these different topics and we talk about these various things in your business and how your business and mindset and money all come together. And once everything starts to work together in a harmonious way, in a, let me re say that. Once everything starts to work together as a fine tuned machine, then things start to really fall into place and the magic starts to happen. I am so excited y'all have joined me here today. And I want you to go, after you listen to this, I want you to go on and I want you to do your homework. I want you to dump out all of those fears, all of those frustrations, all of those worries, all of those limiting beliefs. And I want you to rewrite them into new positive stories.